Hi everyone, it's your favorite real estate broker here, and today I just want to talk a little bit about checking your personal information. And I know oftentimes we always talk about that personal information being your credit report. Well, I want to expand on that a little bit more. So, I typically work with a lot of renters as well in helping them find a home. And many of you don't realize that there's more than just a credit check that is done. We check credit, criminal, and eviction history. So, for those of you that don't know, my name is Andrea Wilson. I am the broker over at Brickhouse Realty. We're a full service real estate brokerage here in Northeast Ohio, and I just want to give you some tips. So, I look over a ton of applications from day to day, and I always see the same things that come up, and it makes it really hard for owners or landlords to select an application. So I want to just talk about this stuff so you can start working on this and clean these items up. Even if you're thinking about purchasing a home, you will want to make sure that you're checking these things. So anytime, or in most cases, when you're looking at a rental property, the landlord is going to have some sort of application process. And typically that application is going to check credit, criminal, and eviction history on there. And you need to make at least 3 times the rent. That's usually about what the average is. And then the security deposit is normally the same as the first month's rent, right? So when they run these checks, credit, criminal, and eviction history, it's not necessarily always that they're looking at the score, but they're looking for things that don't appear to be a hardship on the application. So a current hardship would be you have a car note and it's currently reporting 30, 60, 90 days past due. That's kind of a red flag to an owner or a property manager that, there's some kind of hardship. If you're not currently paying your car note, then something could be going on there. The other thing that the landlord is going to check is to make sure that you don't have your utilities in collections as well. This is a big thing. We see lights, we see gas. If your utilities are in collections, then how are you going to get service at your new place? Other than we are to assume that you're going to be putting it in someone else's name, but that creates a problem, right? And then the next thing is your criminal history. And we see so many people with a long list of criminal activity. So when we say criminal activity, that does not necessarily mean that it was for something like shoplifting. It can also mean that you have a lot of speeding tickets, traffic tickets, playing loud noise, housing issues, all of these things, and it could be shoplifting, it could be drug dealing, it could be all of these things that are showing up on your report. So I want to just talk and kind of break down each of these areas real quick. The first area of your credit. I know we've talked about this a number of times about checking your credit report on a regular basis. So you want to make sure that you're looking at this. A quick, easy way would be to look at apps like Credit Karma that will update you immediately when things change. However, Credit Karma is just kind of like a reference point. It doesn't give you the most accurate credit report, because if you then say, oh, I have a 700 on Credit Karma, but then if you're trying to get a house, the lender runs your credit and it may be much lower and you're trying to figure out why. Credit Karma uses a different credit scoring system than what is used when you're purchasing a home. So you want to be mindful of this. So you can use it as a tool because it's handy, it's on your phone, but you can receive one free annual credit report every year from all 3 major bureaus by going to myannualcreditreport.com. You can also use myfico.com as well, and that's going to get you the most accurate credit reporting information. You always want to stay on top of this. I get it. Maybe you're not in a position, you know that you have some collections out there, but you're not in a position to pay those off. I get it. I understand. But we can't ignore the credit. We still need to pay attention because Usually people with low income, poor credit are usually the population that are taking advantage of the most. So you want to make sure that you're looking at these things to make sure that everything that is on there is accurate. Sometimes we see that something is reported in duplicates. So you want to make sure that you're going on there and dispute anything that may be duplicate on your report. So that way, when you are in a position to start paying down the debt and working on repairing your credit, you've already done a lot of the legwork in there. So now it's just paying down those collection items. The second thing with your evictions, this is what I want you to understand on when we're looking for a rental unit and evictions. So a lot of times people don't necessarily realize that there is an eviction on their record. Oftentimes you'll leaving a unit before the last payment is due. So you're thinking like, oh, I'll have them take it for my security deposit. Well, you have to think if you have not left that unit in 100% the way that you received it, they will charge you for any damages and repairs, and that comes out of that security deposit. So from there, you can receive, there'd be a shortfall on that rent that's collected for the last month. And so that landlord will file an eviction against you. And unless you provided a forwarding address, which many times people do not provide a forwarding address, they have filed this eviction, it goes on your report, and it just sits there, right? So anytime that there is even a dispute with your landlord, you want to make sure that you are, and you go to court for it, make sure that you're asking the judge, once it's settled and everything, that eviction is removed off of your record. I hear time and time again that individuals, they didn't know that this eviction was showing up, and then that just knocks them out as a contender for that rental unit, and then they have a hard time securing a place for their family. And then that last piece of that is the criminal record. So this is very important as well, because oftentimes you don't necessarily want to think of it like this, but your application, if we're talking about from a rental standpoint, you have to realize that the owner is being presented a piece of paper. And looking at a piece of paper with all of this information, they are trying to decide if they want to get into a rental relationship with you. So if they're getting a report and you have lots of collections, you had an eviction, and now you have a long history of criminal activity, then this is a red flag for them, and they probably will not want to move forward with you. But you're saying, oh, I'm a good person. Again, they don't know you personally, and so they're just, in a very short amount of time, they're trying to understand and determine your character by looking at a piece of paper. So when looking at this piece of paper, you want to make sure that you present yourself in the best light. So if you have multiple traffic tickets, if you have, something 5 years ago or 10 years ago or whatever, and that stuff is showing up, you want to have it removed. Even though the landlord, typically they look 5 years, that old stuff may still appear on your report. So even though may not be looking at it from 5 years ago, they still see that information. And so in the back of their mind, they're always thinking of, okay, what if they're still doing this activity, but they just have not gotten caught yet? So when they're comparing your application to another person's application, they may decide to go with that other person. So again, you want to work on removing and cleaning up all of these areas, this personal information in your life. If you need more information, how to clean up your reports, or just help on all of this, you can give me a call, 216-220-7886. I would love to help you and talk to you, and let's clean this up. Let's become homeowners, or at least let's get that rental application in place so the landlord does not have to think twice about selecting you.